Hello, welcome to Sound Off with System One. I'm your host, Krista Kornchuk, and I'm here today with our panel of experts to speak with you about what to do if you lose your job. Before we get started, here are a few words about System One. System One is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life sciences, and government sectors, putting more than 650 employees and 9,000 contractors to work in the United States, Canada, and the UK. As you're tuning in today, please join us in the comments. Our marketing team will be monitoring them. Let us know where you're joining from and what industry you work in. And if you have any questions relevant to today's topics, please drop them in there as well, and we'll try to answer as many as possible. And next, I'm going to have our panel of experts introduce themselves. They're going to be sharing a hot job with us. You can see all System One jobs by scanning the QR code or visiting jobs.system1.com. Kat, we'll start with you.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Kat Matos, or Catherine Matos. I'm a senior recruiter here at Gillette. I specialize in clinical research and healthcare recruitment. Currently, I'm actually recruiting on a job as a inside sales rep in Jersey City, New Jersey.
All right, my name is James Byers, Director of Recruiting for our Transit Division. I've been with System One for 12 years. My hot job is a Senior Port and Terminals Planner position based in Los Angeles, California.
Fantastic. And if you're interested in any of these roles, make sure you connect with our recruiters. Again, to see all System One jobs, you can scan the QR code or visit jobs.system1.com. And without further ado, we're going to get started with our questions. Again, we're discussing what to do if you lose your job. So if you have any questions relevant to today's topics, please drop them in the chat. Our first question, what are the first things someone should do after losing their job? Kat, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I will say I've actually been in the shoes before where I have lost my job. And I always tell people, and even for myself, I take the time to breathe and just process your emotions. So if it's sadness, if it's anger, if you want to cry, by all means cry, but definitely take the time to really process it. If it's a day, if it's a week, however long you need in order to just feel at peace and come to terms with it, and then start doing baby steps to, okay, what I need to do next, then definitely do that.
Yeah, thanks, Kat. And I would say that, one of the first things that you want to do is check with your former employer, see if they're willing to write a reference for you, so you can take that with you when applying to new companies, and then also give your previous references a call and let them know that they may have some people reaching out to them because you are now fresh on the job market.
Absolutely. And references can also be coworkers. It shows that you're great in a team environment. So it never hurts to ask your coworkers as well.
And definitely former managers also.
Certainly. Great addition. And what are some common mistakes job seekers make in the first few weeks after being laid off? James, we'll start with you.
So I think one of the biggest things that I see is, you want to be persistent, but you don't want to seem eager and desperate. Don't call the same recruiters every day. Don't apply to multiple positions at one company. Give them a little bit of time to assess your skills and your resume and get back to you once you've applied or you've already reached out one time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And something else too, especially if you are in consideration for opportunities and you're in the interview process, the best thing to do is send thank you letters. It just shows that you're interested, it shows you're passionate, and it's highlighting your experience and things that you guys talked about personally on the interview. And also, again, it makes you stand out compared to other people who may be consideration for the same job as you, who may not be writing a thank you letter. So for you doing that will make you stand out even more.
Absolutely. And, it's a tough job market right now. So standing out is key. Again, if you have any questions relevant to today's topic, make sure you drop them in the chat and maybe we can get to them if we have time. Our third question, what's the best way to address a layoff on a resume or cover letter? Kat, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so the best thing is to be brief and positive about it. So unfortunately, I know we're all sad about, being laid off, and it's something that's unfortunately it happens. But in order to learn from that, it's just being positive, taking those lessons that you have learned from your current company and then bring it forth to your new uh, job, whatever it may be. It just shows that, hey, this is something that has happened, but I'm positive about it. And again, it's just keep it very brief.
Yeah, and a lot of times a layoff does not reflect, on yourself and your performance or your skill set. So I think be prepared to address it, be upfront about it, and emphasize that you weren't the only one to be laid off. You have some references, and you're willing to address that whenever the question comes up.
Definitely. And it's not an uncommon situation. It's happened to all of us. So people will be very understanding. It looks like we have a question from one of our viewers. What are some ways to network and find job leads when you're back in the market? Great question.
I can take that. So the best way is really just connect with your network. So if you have friends, your coworkers, or if they know someone who, hey, I know that your current company may not be hiring, but do you know anyone else or someone who's maybe reaching out to you? Can you let me know? I'd be happy to reach out to them. And sometimes I had a lot of my coworkers who but old coworkers who may not be looking, but some people are reaching out to them. They're letting me know, hey, these opportunities are available, and that is the best way. But it's always networking with on LinkedIn, posting something out saying, hey, I'm currently looking for a new opportunity. Any way you can help, be the best way possible. Exactly what I did when I was looking. I did a post on LinkedIn, but I also did reach out to my old coworkers, and they were able to help me out as well.
Yeah, and I would say, reach out to any recruiters that you've worked with in the past, any recruiters that you see working on any positions that are relevant to jobs you'd like to apply for. And then to Kat's point also, put the banner on LinkedIn that you are open to work. As recruiters, we love seeing that for people that are qualified for the jobs that we're working on.
Fantastic. And thank you for the question. All right, our next question. What is the best way to answer why did you leave your last job after a layoff? James, we'll start with you.
Well, it goes back to my answer before. The layoff doesn't really affect the layoff doesn't really reflect upon your skill set or your qualifications for a position. So, you know, let the interviewer know that, it's something that wasn't necessarily expected. It's something that um, you know, it's not necessarily reflective of who you are and what you can do. And with the right opportunity, the right chance, you'd be more than willing to prove yourself.
Yeah. Uh, James, that's probably the best advice you can probably give to someone. And taking that experience that you learned from your last company and bring it now to your current company or whatever job you're applying to, but just taking those lessons and those live experience that you have and gained, that's the best way you can do that and show it forth.
Fantastic. And we have had two questions come in from our viewers. Both questions are actually asking about age discrimination and how it's navigated.
So I would say, nobody likes to be discriminated against. The best thing you can do is just put everything on your resume that's truthful. Um, as recruiters, that's not something that we look at System One whenever we're recruiting for a position. If we feel that you're qualified, we're going to reach out to you. If you are qualified and you're interested, we're going to present you to a candidate. You may feel that way at a certain point in time, but that may not actually be the case of what's really going on. They may have just found a candidate that was better.
It's a really
Yeah.
great answer.
I was gonna say it's very true to what James said, and sometimes a lot of times they'll find someone who internally, they say, hey, we have this job open, and then someone who applied internally that's currently working at the company, they may have just went forward with that person since there's an internal candidate. So, like as James said, there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes that it may not be related to what you're thinking. So just definitely keep mindful of that too.
And stay persistent in your job search. If you do have that gut feeling that may be going on, whether it is or it isn't, that might not be the right organization for you.
That's a fantastic answer. And I think it's important to never make assumptions either. It's a hard market right now, and there's a lot of people looking for new roles. Our next question: are temporary or contract jobs a good option while searching for full time work? Kat, we'll start with you.
Yeah, it definitely is. If you're looking, something that's contract or temp, by all means go for it. I always say, if you're looking for that, definitely stick with your career path. You don't always have to. Of course, I know, finance comes into play and you may want, currently, just money coming in. But if you're doing something, you're like, you have time, you have savings, then definitely take the time to apply for part-time jobs or contract work until you get something full-time that aligns to your career path, that makes you stand out, and there's no gap on your resume. But I understand situation does happen and does come, be unexpected. So, but that's the best way I would recommend is just sticking with your career path if you can.
Yeah, and I would say contract positions are a great way to get your foot into the door with a good company. A lot of times companies look at that contract workforce when they're looking to when they're looking to hire somebody for a permanent position. So you already have your foot in the door. They already know your skill set. So you're going to be one of the first ones that they go to when they want to fill the position permanently. And I can tell you, from experience, that happens often. And a lot of contract jobs also extend a lot further than the initial duration. So it may not be as short of an assignment as initially spoken about.
Fantastic. Great additions. We have another viewer comment. Sarah is asking, what do you do when you get overqualified responses to interviews when looking for other opportunities?
Okay, Kat, you can take that one for 1 second.
All right, not a problem. I think it just comes down with the job, the requirements for it. If they're telling you, hey, you might be overqualified, there might be something going on behind the scenes with the job itself. Again, if they're talking to you, and that's as me as a recruiter, if I know that there's going to be other opportunities available that might fit your background, I will take the time to speak with you and then figure out, okay, what's your direction? What are you looking to do in the next 5 years? And then, okay, let's figure out a career path for you and whatever that may look like. But I don't want you to think that, they're coming off and saying, okay, you're overqualified based on this. There definitely is certain reasons behind it. It could be amount of years of experience that they're looking for. It could be the salary. But again, if they know that there's going to be other opportunities for you, they'll definitely be in contact to you for something that would be the right fit.
Yeah, and I think that feedback and that response is something to take in stride. To be honest, it can be a good thing. Maybe you should look at the next level of position and you're a better qualified fit for that. Also ask that person that's giving you that feedback, well, do you have anything that's a step up from what we talked about? Because I'm still very interested in your company. And if you feel like I'm overqualified for this, which one am I a good fit for? So I wouldn't take that as a negative. It really reflects on you that, you have the qualifications. You might just need to go a level higher than you're currently looking, which could also mean more pay.
Fantastic. Yeah, a couple of people asked that question, so thank you for addressing that. Our next question: how can job seekers refresh their resume to stand out in a competitive market? Kat, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so the best thing is to keep your resume very clean and very readable. I've gotten resumes where it's really hard to read in the sense of I don't know exactly where their work experience is and what they're currently doing or the amount of years. If you have it really clean to the point that, hey, this is my work experience, here are my skill sets, here's what I've done. And a lot of bullet points. I think a lot of people tend to stick with one page just for the resume. And depending if you have done multiple years, in this career, then definitely have 2 to 3 pages. It's just you want to highlight your experience overall. So having that, and then also a strong summary. So I always tell people to make sure that you're listing out the amount of years you're, in this industry for. what you're doing in a brief, like 2 sentence. And then, if there's other skill sets that's very important to, depending on your industry, then definitely add that in there. So, for instance, like clinical research, it should be listed therapeutic areas, what phases you worked on for each of these studies, a little brief explanation what you're doing in clinical research and what you've handled, and then the amount of years you've been in clinical research. That should be your strong summary. But again, it highlights you overall. So
Yeah, and I would say, you want to make sure your resume has the buzzwords or the keywords that are in the job description that you're looking for. A lot of companies use automated systems and artificial technology to screen through resumes, and if you don't have some of those words in there, your resume may get passed over. So you want to stay truthful in your resume, but you also want to make sure those keywords are in there, and then also make sure it's refined. Check with one of those artificial intelligent applications that are out there now, and make sure that you've enhanced your resume using that, but also make sure you proofread it, make sure everything is truthful once you've done that.
Really great points. And we actually just made an article on LinkedIn on Monday about standing out in a competitive market. It goes over utilizing AI and refining your resume. So definitely check it out if you want further detail. We have another question from one of our viewers. Aaron is asking, how do I find the right recruiter for my industry? Great question.
Well, if it's the transit industry, give me a call. But I would say, a lot of times when you're applying and you're looking at different job boards and that kind of thing, it will be from a staffing agency, and there will be an email address or some contact info. Reach out to that person. I get calls all the time. I'm more than happy to talk to people and kind of point them in the right direction if it's not something that's relevant to my industry. But network yourself and talk to people, I think, is the best way to answer that question.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And a lot of recruiters will tend to post. So for instance, I've put, I feel like 20 posts yesterday about what opportunities we have available through July. So you'll see a lot of recruiters will be doing that. So if you do see something that you're interested in, then reach out to that recruiter and saying, hey, I saw your post. I would love to connect with you regarding this opportunity.
Amazing. And our next question, what hiring trends do recruiters see in 2025 that job seekers should be aware of? James, we'll start with you.
So I think one of the biggest ones is the shift from the work from home hybrid model that came into play from the pandemic. Um, a lot of companies now are moving very far away from that, whether it's full time in the office or only 1 to 2 days work from home. I think be prepared for that, and don't limit yourself to saying I'm only willing to work remote opportunities, because they're not in abundance as they were previously.
Yeah, that is very true. A lot of companies are going back to on-site, and even if they're hybrid, they're now changing it. Okay, instead of one day on site, now it's going to be 2 to 3 days on site. So they are gradually switching that. And I see too, for us recruiters, is that we see personality and assessments coming into play for the interview. So when you are on them, they're looking to see how passionate you are and how interested. So if you're, you know, researching the company, if you're doing a lot more research about the job itself, they just want to see that this is something you're passionate about and showing your interest. And the assessment part can be written, it could be something, let's say with an Excel, it depends on what the job may be, but assessment also will play a key part to see how well you are within the job.
Good to know. And our last question of the day, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who just lost their job and feels lost? Kat, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so as I said before, I've been in the shoes, and it is sad, and it's something that is unexpected, and you don't really know what to do. And I know for me, I definitely felt sad. I will admit I did cry because it was my first time being laid off, and I didn't know what to expect. So going through that, I actually took a week to process it. Even though it probably really took me 2 days, I just said, you know what, let me figure out my next steps. Let me take this time to just breathe and just feel, I guess, mentally relax in the sense of, okay, what is the next step? So for me was looking at finances. Okay, how much savings do I have? And then need to figure out, okay, where I need to make my cuts, and then go into each day making my next steps. So doing just baby steps throughout the whole thing. But the big thing, it's just processing your emotions before you start going into panic mode, saying, okay, I need to go and apply. I need to do this right away. You don't want that. This is a time to just breathe and just find yourself.
Yeah, and I would say, excuse me, don't panic. There is a job out there for you, and it really goes back to all the things that we've mentioned. Refine your resume, talk to recruiters, make sure you have that banner on your LinkedIn profile that you are now open to work. Make sure that you're able and willing, and kind of look in the mirror also and say, okay, is there anything that I'm doing that's keeping me from getting a position? Am I willing to go back into the office 5 days a week? We've all done this before. To make that change, should not be too difficult. So make sure you're open. Make sure that you're applying to positions that are relevant to your skill set, and stay persistent, stay consistent. Something will come up.
Some really good insight. And it's hard to do your best work applying for jobs when you're in panic mode. So I think taking the time you need is really key. This was some excellent advice today. We had really good questions as well. Thank you to our panel, and thank you to everyone that commented. Don't forget to follow System One on LinkedIn if you're not already, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can view previous Sound Off with System One episodes. Make sure you tune in every first and third Friday at 2 p.m. for more job seeker topics. Our next Sound Off with System One live stream is Friday, March 21st at 2, and we'll be having a live Q&A. See you then.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.